Welcome to Love Light with Dr. Jean Marie Farish. Today, we'll show you how to use the spirit of love and self-worth to improve the connections with everyone else in your life. This program is your weekly gift, and it will keep on giving. You'll see. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jean Marie Farish.
Well, hello and welcome, everyone. I hope you're all faring well. I'm Dr. Jean Marie, your Love Light host, and we are delighted for you to join us on the Voice America Empowerment Channel, shining love light into your hearts and homes to empower your life with love. We have a great show today, End-of-Life Decluttering and Organizing, the Ultimate Spring Cleaning with Julie Coraccio. It's so important to do what you love and what really matters. And at the end of life, what really matters is not what we bought, but what we built. Not what we got, but what we share. Not our competence, but our character. And not our success, but our significance. Live a life that truly matters. Live a life of love. That's by an author that's unknown. In the end, only 3 things matter, according to Buddha. How much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you. Decluttering and simplifying our lives is an opportunity to live a meaningful and purposeful life, make a mark on the world, and prevent chaos, discord, and confusion at the end of our life's journey. Our guest, Julie Coraccio, has a wealth of knowledge and experience in the area of living a clutter-free life. Founder of Reawaken Your Brilliance, she's an award-winning professional life and end-of-life organizer and certified life coach. Julie is passionate about supporting people and clearing clutter in all areas of their lives, getting organized and becoming mindful and aware. Host of the popular self-help podcast, Clear Your Clutter Inside and Out, she's the author of 10 books, including Got Clutter, 365 Journal Prompts, Reclaim Time, Money, Sanity, and Resources. And now I am so pleased and honored to welcome Julie Coraccio to our show today, End-of-Life Decluttering and Organizing, the Ultimate Spring Cleaning. Welcome, Julie.
Hey, Jean. Thanks so much for having me. I'm thrilled that you're open to discuss this topic because I think it's so important.
Yes, thank you so much. And I think in the discussion we had, I said, well, this is kind of a topic that probably not a lot of people are ready for, and you were so adamant, but it needs to be discussed. So I really appreciate your passion. And can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what really inspired your work in this area?
Well, so I've been in business since 2009. My business is Reawaken Your Brilliance. And as you shared, I'm passionate about supporting people and clearing clutter in all areas. And how I got into end-of-life organizing was, it's been, maybe 4 years ago. My father sat us down with my brothers and said, hey, this is the lawyer, this is the accountant, this is what you need to know. I want the cheapest pine box when I die, and all other things. And one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about this is that people think, oh, I need to have a bunch of money to write a will or to worry about end of life. And that is so not true. And so after my father did that, I was like, wow, I'm really grateful because it's going to bring peace of mind when he goes. And then I can concentrate on grieving instead of worrying what's the password or where's a safety deposit box key and adding additional stress in a time when I'm grieving.
Yes, and Julie, you talk about clearing clutter and organizing, giving us that sense of clarity, calmness, control. And ultimately, it really is a form of self-care and caring for others. It is, when we talk about when you begin end-of-life organizing, why is it so important? And, it may be uncomfortable in terms of preparation and planning, Tell us why this is so important.
Absolutely. So I first want to start with a little story, because when we sat down with my father, I had assumed that this was okay and this is going to include my mother. And my mother passed on August 9th, 2021. And my dad was like, oh, yeah, your mom didn't want to talk about this, so we didn't do anything. So I'm trying to grieve my mother. We're trying to make decisions such as she want to be buried. Well, my dad's like, well, we talked about cremation. I'm like, all right, well, that's what we're going to go with. But when, especially she had a long illness. And so having to deal with that was really stressful, at the back of our mind, or at least mine. Oh, am I doing the right thing? And so when you plan for this, it gives everyone that you love peace of mind. And I believe it also gives you peace of mind as well. We'll talk about more detail later. You and I have pets and are animal lovers, and I don't want my cats out on the street because I didn't plan for it. So it gives you peace of mind as well. I also believe and know that it allows hopefully your wishes to be known and honored. Like we joke about my dad wanting the cheap pine box because that's how he's built, but I want to honor that. And, he's written his obituary and he said, please don't change it. Okay. I want to honor your wishes. And I also believe it's important because it gets you to think about your legacy, and that hopefully you want to leave the world a better place than when you entered.
I love that. And we're going to talk more about that. And you made me think about when my grandmother passed away, who raised me. She had gone to the funeral home, made all the preparations. And when I went to the funeral home after she passed, they said, oh, we remember her. She was just so excited about it. And I was like, my goodness. And they said, yeah, we remember her. So, it really, touched my heart that it wasn't a lot of planning or, chaos in terms of trying to figure out what to do and how to do it, and to really honor her wishes. So, Julie, we know life has a beginning and ending that we all have to face, and you're here to really shed light on why the organization and honoring our loved ones, and not only them, but honoring our own wishes, as we know that our life's journey will come to an end. But let's talk for a minute about the kinds of clutter and how it impacts our life in terms of organizing the physical, emotional, mental, financial, all the clutter and baggage that you have to sort through in terms of trying to really organize your life and, in just as you're living, right?
Absolutely. So I'll first share my definition of clutter, because I'm very different from a lot of people. And so for me, clutter is anything that prevents you from creating the life you choose, deserve, and desire. And what I mean by that is clutter is what's not important. And so maybe you want to write the next great American novel. Maybe you want to be a sculptress. Maybe you want to be a teacher. And so if you have clutter, then that's going to impede you living your best life. And I really want to live in a world where we're all passionate, we're doing what brings us joy, because society would look much different than it does now. And so one of the things is people tend to just think of clutter as a physical stuff. But if you've got a cluttered desk, that's affecting your mental ability, right? It's harder to have mental clarity when there's a bunch of stuff going on. And I also want people to see clutter in a bigger light. And what I mean by that is, oh, it's just a messy desk. Well, it's also perhaps a roadblock to you getting a promotion, or that overstuffed closet has a relationship stop before it's had a chance to start, or it causes a current fight if you're in a relationship. And so seeing that bigger picture and kind of expanding that out is a first step that I want people to think. And, for me, you can have, as mentioned, we mentioned mental clutter, emotional clutter, right? Are you angry all the time? Are you someone that has a knee-jerk reaction and flips someone off in traffic all the time? It's not about the traffic, it's about you. So what are those obstacles that are clutter in your life, and how are you going to be aware of it and then take action to change it, right? Because if we don't change anything, we don't grow, we stay stagnant, and then we wake up and years have passed.
Yes. And you're surrounded with, I love what you said, the emotional clutter, the mental clutter, hanging on to anger and negative emotions, physical, clearing out your closets, your desk, making room for the new, making space for what you really want to do. Because, Julie, we expend so much energy doing stuff that really doesn't matter.
Yes.
And when you talk about clarity, I'm just saying, like, you're sorting through all the stuff, trying to get to what's really important. And I know when I was doing a lot of clearing at the end of the year, giving away things, and sometimes I would say, oh, but you might need it. And I'm like, okay, put it out, bag it up, and don't look back,
Right. So how often do we have, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I can't tell you, there are countless people who say, oh, I might need it someday.
Yeah.
Okay, you haven't used it. How long has it been? 8 years? Okay, so what I like to say to that is, can you trust that you'll get what you need when you need it? Right?
Yes.
And that, okay, if I let that go, whatever, and it's not just the physical stuff, whether it's a relationship, whether it is money, that is going to come to you in life when you need it. And, for the physical stuff, think outside the box. Can you rent it? Can you borrow it from a neighbor? Maybe you do some bartering, right? If you're like, well, I don't know if I'm ready to let that go. Know that there are opportunities and there are ways that you can handle it, and trust that you'll be able to do that.
And as I was doing that, I said, well, it's going to serve someone else, and it wasn't junk. It was like, okay, something that can be a benefit to someone else, whether it was a furniture item or clothing or whatever. It was like, it's going to serve someone, and I can find joy in knowing that, I'm giving to a higher cause, not just clearing out junk, but really serving in another way.
I love that you mentioned that, because one of the things, people are struggling to let go of clothes, like, oh, I paid whatever for that. I'm like, give it to a shelter for victims of domestic violence, because many times they leave with just the clothes on their backs, or maybe one small suitcase, and you are going to be making a difference in someone's life and helping save them and their family.
And Julie, you feel so much better when you look around and you have the space that's clear, and it's like, okay, I'm making way for something new and better. Things are outworn, right? It lived, you had these things during a particular point in time, and it served its purpose. Let go and open up for new energy. Julie, when we talk about the emotional and mental clutter, and I think about being forgiving in your heart, being grateful for the life you're living, being grateful for those, even if they passed on, for perhaps the support. And let's talk about those who perhaps were not as supportive, but they taught you valuable lessons. So in your heart, I think it's making peace with yourself. What are your thoughts about that in terms of emotional and mental clutter and anger and all that stuff that we hang on to?
Well, I think that's great. And I want to mention a couple things. So in my office, I have a sign that says, do you want to be right, or do you want to have peace? And so I'm not at the point that I'm fully evolved, that I still need that sign. But it's one of those things, the example I would use is, I'm always amazed at social media and the amount of effort that people expend on, really, is this important? Is this the hill you want to die on? Like, do you really want to get bent out of shape about a video on decluttering? I mean, it's your choice, but, perhaps you have other interests that might benefit from your time. And the other thing that I want to say is, I love talking about an open heart and letting go, because I just talked about forgiveness. I'm doing some spring cleaning tips in these little reels, but I'm like, I need to add a caveat. I'm going to do another little video. And when we forgive, that's about for us, because forgiveness frees us. Yes. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting how you were treated or allowing people to treat you poorly. And we can release stuff and let go of stuff, but that doesn't mean accepting bad behavior. And I just really want to emphasize that. Someone had mentioned something about having to forgive their parents, and I was like, good for you. That can be really challenging. You can forgive your parent or someone else, but that doesn't mean they need to be in your life. That's a good self-care, to take care of yourself and have boundaries and not allow yourself to be treated poorly.
Thank you so much for bringing that up, because as we talk about spiritual baggage, and that opportunity for forgiveness is really freedom for you. And I love what you're saying. It's not that you have to accept people back into your life or whatever, because there's a time to let go, the seasons of our lives, right? Yes. And there's a time when people were in your life for a cause or for to teach you a lesson. And I think for me, what I'm really reflecting on is that perhaps that wasn't a great relationship, but now I'm trying to sort through how am I better as a result of that. And I have a spiritual friend, and she always says, thank everyone, thank them for where you are and where you have come. And I'm like, okay, that takes work, but in practice, it makes so much sense because it's freedom for you.
Freedom. You hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it's about. It's being able to be free and to let stuff go. But, I found that boundaries get a bad rap. And I don't think that that's, that's not fair, because and I know that I still struggle with this. Like, I'm trying to be very gentle with boundaries, because you can say things in a loving and a compassionate way that are still strong. Right. Yes. And, anger has taught me that I need to speak up and have better boundaries. I try not to look at an emotion as being good or bad, because if women hadn't gotten angry that we couldn't vote, then you and I wouldn't be voting today, right? Yes. They got angry enough to make change. So I'm going to encourage you, don't view an emotion as good or bad. What can you learn from it? How can it help you heal? And how can you move forward?
Exactly. What will you do with this emotion? Because we all experience a plethora of emotions, negative and positive. But of course, if I'm in anger, I don't like that emotion. And I have to do a little reflection to see, okay, what's going on? How can I move beyond this? And sometimes you have to sit with it and kind of dissect it, because it's the reality of how you're feeling. And as you indicated, you can't neglect your feelings. And then even setting boundaries, I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's part of kind of clearing too, isn't it?
Oh, it absolutely is. And, it's important. If we don't feel it, then it tends to stay within us. Everything's energy. So whether you believe that from a physics perspective or a spiritual perspective, if we don't express our anger, then it's going to stay somewhere in our body. And, there are healthy ways, like punch a bag, right? Scream into a pillow. And then it's like when a kid has a temper tantrum, right? You're like, oh my gosh, the parents are mortified. Kids are awesome. They know exactly, I'm angry. And you know what? They get it out and it's done. When we grow up and grow old and become adults, we tend to hold all that stuff in, where the kids are like, I'm angry, I'm tired, I'm hungry, blam, and it's done. And they're present again.
And why do we do that? A lot of times we do it because we, as a people pleaser, or not wanting to hang on to a relationship, and you're being treated badly, and then you're internalizing all of those negative feelings. And as you indicated, what you resist will continue to grow and come out in other areas. And if we become unhealthy, and like you indicated, find ways to, release walking or screaming or whatever you have to do to really let that emotion go. But Julie, I think we're up for a brief commercial break. So for our listeners, stay tuned for more on the end of life decluttering and organizing, the ultimate spring cleaning, with our amazing guest, Julie Coraccio, founder of Reawakening Your Brilliance, award-winning professional life and end-of-life organizer, and certified life coach. Julie is the author of many books, including Got Clutter, 365 Journal Prompts, Reclaim Time, Money, Sanity, and Resources. And in our next segment, I think Julie's going to take us through some prompts. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Announcing Dr. Jean Marie Farish's new book, Love Mastery Devotion Journal, 21-day weekly prompts and affirmations. This is the companion piece to Dr. Farish's best-selling book, Living in the Spirit of Love, Our Natural State of Being. Through the new book, we invite you to cultivate a lifestyle of love through daily devotional practices over a 21-day period, following 9 ingredients in the recipe of love. Love Mastery Devotion Journal, 21-day weekly prompts and affirmations, is available on Amazon.com and Balboa Press.
Jean Marie Farish's Center for Conscious Loving, LLC, cultivates a lifestyle of love and wholehearted connections through personal growth, altruistic services, and speaking engagements. Resources include classes, workshops, life care coaching, and creative service projects with an emphasis on cultural arts. Visit the website at drjeanmariefarish-consciousloving.com. That's drjeanmariefarish-consciousloving.com, or click the link on the Love Light show page.
Best-selling authors international news honors best-selling authors around the globe. Dr. Jean Marie Farish is featured in the newly released issue of Published magazine. To have first access to this treasured resource, go to publishedmagazine.com. Vicki Winterton and Dr. Jean Marie Farish have compiled a dynamic book, We're All in This Together, Embrace One Another, an anthology with 24 highly diverse co-authors who share how to spread the message of love, resilience, inclusivity, and compassion. This book is an invaluable source of uplifting, inspiring, and positive insights for spreading positivity in the world. We're All in This Together, Embrace One Another is available on Amazon.com. Be sure to get your copy today. Dr. Jean Marie Farish is proud to announce the release of her new book, Living in the Spirit of Love, Our Natural State of Being, available now at Balboa Press. This book will help you master your life and flourish in love. You'll learn how to become a better and more evolved you. Feel good by making life-affirming choices. Deepen your feelings and expressions of love. Tune in love and sustain the change. And flourish in love and find your joy. Visit BalboaPress.com and search for Living in the Spirit of Love and enjoy Dr. Farish's new book today.
I'm Judy Satori. I'm a spiritual channel and activator of human potential. You might have heard me speaking on the Voice of America on Dr. Jean Farish's show, Love Light, because I've been speaking about the challenges that are besetting all of us right now and how we can surrender but also keep on going. I want to invite you to join my new Facebook group that is devoted to heart-centered connection and unity. Through this Facebook group, you can also join my free access question and answer session with Spirit on the first Wednesday to Thursday of every month. Just search Ascension Community on Facebook to join the group. In this session, I answer questions and transmit energy from Spirit to give you guidance and support. Because life on planet Earth ain't easy right now, and there is so much help from above, from beings of love and light, from multidimensional realities who are actually here with us, wanting to step up and support us. I welcome you to become part of our ongoing group conversation about evolutionary change and how it's affecting us as human beings and affecting our life today. Many blessings to you. You can find out more about me and my work at www.ascensionlibrary.org. Have a wonderful day.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
You are tuned in to Love Light with Dr. Jean Marie Farish. Feel free to connect with our program through email or check out our links on Facebook. Reach Jean at Jean72Farish@yahoo.com. That's Jean72Farish@yahoo.com. And now, back to Love Light.
Well, welcome back to Love Light, Living in the Spirit of Love. And if you're just joining us, we are with our amazing guest, Julie Coraccio, founder of Reawakening Your Brilliance, award-winning professional life and end-of-life organizer, and certified life coach. Julie is the author of many books, including Declutter, 365 Journal Prompts, Reclaim Time, Money, Sanity, and Resources. On our show today, End of Life, Decluttering and Organizing, the Ultimate Spring Cleaning. Julie, we talked about the different types of clutter, but can you really expound on financial clutter? Because end of life, that can be a train wreck.
A big time train wreck. So for me, financial clutter are things like getting into debt, having credit card debt, and think about all the clutter that causes. It causes mental clutter, health clutter because you're so stressed out. And so, or spending money on things that you don't want, planning for retirement. And when we bring that into end of life, literally yesterday, I belonged to a caregivers group and someone's like, I'm caring for my mother-in-law. She refused to get a physical. And so we couldn't get long-term insurance or whatever. And so now we're looking at paying 5 figures to get her into a home. And people, I don't think, are aware of, if you get ill, how are you going to pay for that?
Yes.
You know, I mean, that's a huge thing. And that's another thing. When you plan, you take that burden away from your family. I mean, we're fortunate that my dad planned for that. We were able to have help. They had their bathroom modified for a wheelchair, which was unbelievably helpful. And so that creates burdens for other. And, and who wants to be ill or, maybe if you suffered a stroke and have bad care, right? None of us want that.
Yes. So it's really planning during those, because you never know when you're going to get sick or ill or whatever, what your needs may be. But what you're saying, if you look at the financial aspect of it, maybe get rid of the debt. Look at what you're really buying. Do I really need this, right?
Yes.
And talk about wills. That's kind of part of planning as well, right? And it may not be a good subject for people to really entertain, but what are your thoughts about that?
I think it's really important to have a will. Prince is an example. I think maybe finally that estate was settled. But, when it goes interstate, I believe is a term, when a will is not settled. So I don't know about you, Jean, but I've paid my taxes. I don't want any of my hard-earned money going to the government. I want it to go into causes that I believe in and people that I love. And then I don't think Aretha Franklin's will is still settled. I mean, these are people with lots of money and who are famous. And so if you die without a will, again, I go back to peace of mind, creating difficulties for your loved one. And when you do that, then you write out the wishes that you want known. I'll use an example. So in our neighborhood, we had a woman, and so we have a little foundation, and she was like, I'm going to leave the plot of land. We have a little tennis court. She's like, I'm going to leave the plot of land to the foundation so we can use it for community gathering. Well, it wasn't in the will, and so her heirs overrode her wishes and sold it. So it's the Harry Potter house. It's 2.5. And what they wanted, that she wanted a will, because it, wasn't in a will to say this is legally binding and what you have to do, her wishes weren't honored. But, there are other things. A will is super important, but also a healthcare will, a medical power of attorney. Who is going to do your wishes if you become incapacitated? Like, I don't want to be a vegetable. Pull the plug. I'm not interested in being in a coma, especially if I'm super old. I'm like, life was good. I don't want to be in a state like that. And so you need to make sure that your wishes are spelled out. Like my mother had a post, a DNR, do not resuscitate. It was bright neon green that was on the refrigerator. So if she were to have a heart attack, they were to let her die. And so it's about preparing and planning for all of that. To bring it back to the finances, if someone's like, I don't want that, well, you're going to have to cover those medical expenses, right? And we all know that spending time in the hospital isn't cheap. So these are things, that's why it's worth taking the time to really think about it and plan through what you desire.
And Julie, I think it's also important to have the discussion with your loved ones, because let's say you want to donate your body to science, or you don't want a huge funeral, or you have special wish. Maybe you want cremation, and maybe other family members don't like that idea. So it would be nice to have that conversation.
1,000%. And that brings up a couple points that I'd like to share. One, when you have these conversations, there's literally a group, I believe it's called Conversations with Death. Like, at least in America, I feel that we're afraid of death, right? My theory is plastic surgery is a way to stave off death. We keep getting more plastic surgery thinking that it's going to allow us to live longer. But it's about opening that up and being like, we're all going to die. So instead of fearing it, how can we bring that into everyday and normal conversation? And the other thing is making your wishes known, so there's no hard feelings. Like if you have, say, someone who's unfortunately a drug addict, then you can say in the will, if you don't want to have the conversation, though, I'm always a big fan of time and things. You know what? I'm not leaving you anything because it's just going to go to drugs. Or I've left you some money that's going to be overseen by a trustee because you haven't proven to be financial. I think one of the worst things would be to not have a conversation or not explain things explicitly in a will, and you leave someone wondering, well, what's this about, right?
Yes.
And I think that's very important. We talked, one of the topics that you need to think about, also sensitive, what I consider sensitive things. For instance, someone, you might not want them to know they were adopted. I've seen that before. Like, when you have adoption papers, when you adopt someone. So there are things, we've talked about, sometimes family secrets come out, and it would be better if there was a conversation or at least an explanation in a will. So again, people aren't hurt and upset when having to deal with that when someone's gone.
Yes, and those things become exposed, and can really present a lot of chaos and disharmony. So, and I know secrets can be generational.
Yes.
But somehow they kind of come out. And perhaps as you're doing your end-of-life planning or whatever, you may think about some things that need to be shared and discussed, right?
Absolutely. Again, with this, you can leave with a clean slate, no hard feelings for other people, no resentments. And, it's kind of like I always feel when I ended a relationship until I got married. Can I leave this on the best terms possible so that I have closure, the other person has closure, and then that'll open me up to a better relationship? And it's kind of like, my personal belief, it's going to get tied up at some point, or you're going to continue in this karmic circle. So how can we leave everyone in the best possible way?
Yes, that's so important. And, I love what you were saying earlier because, in our country, we seem to we value physical appearance and youthfulness. And I know when I spent time in the Orient, elders were cherished and honored. And it was really kind of a wake-up call. When I wrote 2 articles, living well and growing old gracefully. And also loving and caring for yourself is loving and caring for others. It's like if I want to be at my optimum and I want to be at my optimal level of health, I want to take care of myself to not be a burden on others. And I know that there are unexpected things that happen, but how can today I take care of myself better so that I won't be a burden to my loved ones, And it is caring for others when you care for yourself.
1,000%. One of my big motivating factors was, so I've lost weight. I'm doing a whole new exercise program. I've made not even eating better, but lifestyle changes. And I started that last year. And it's because I'm like, one, I don't want to not only to be a burden to others, but I don't want to be in a wheelchair when I go to the grocery store. That's goes back to quality of life. There's a great book called Being Mortal, and it's on my website, and it's a tool, someone, I believe is how you say his name. And it's a great book that I think everyone should read because he's a physician, and he talked about the end of life process with his father and all these things that we do to stay alive. But we seem to think it's better to be horribly, have a horrible quality life than to have a good quality of life. It's like, my mom, unfortunately, she, all these things happened, and she got sick during COVID, and then, she had a heart attack, she had a stroke, and then she got aphasia. And the last thing when they wanted her to have a heart healthy die, and she's like, I'm done. Right? You've taken all, I'm social. She couldn't go, everything, all her pleasures in life were taken away. And, she's like, I want to die. And I think on one, that was really hard to hear. Yeah. And On the other hand, it's like, okay, then we're going to put that do not resuscitate. We're not going to go to extraordinary measures to have her kept alive when she's in a coma or when her quality of life is so poor. And I think those are conversations that we need to start having as well. Because at what point is death better than horrible life?
Yes, that's a very good point. I think ultimately, as we talk about ultimate spring cleaning, Julie, to be as healthy as possible, look after your health, to be comfortable, to live with ease, to be peaceful, and to be free. Kind of a formula for, organizing and planning your life in this present moment.
1,000%. And, take the time to figure out, like, what do you want for your end of life ceremony? Did you want to, I tell this story, she was like a second mother to me. And so towards the end of her life, Sybil, they wheeled her out in a hospital bed so she could see her garden. And she was very, very religious, and she had a great women's group, and they came and sang to her. And so she had made all these little things that she wanted. And so when she went on to the next adventure, that had been planned. She had me help write her little program and get artwork for it. And so when she was ready, like, all these things were taken care of, and it's what she wanted. And so think about end of life, your physical stuff. That's another thing. Kids today especially, people think, oh, they want all this stuff, and they don't. They move around more. They are more into downsizing and simpler living. And so what if you have a house full of stuff, where's that going to go? Who's going to take care of that? These are definitely things that you want to think about.
And you may think it's valuable, but to them, it's not. So one question, does end-of-life organization help deal with grief?
You know what? I think that's an outstanding question. I'm going to say yes and no, because I think on one hand, it can serve the distraction, if you need a break. I know after my mother died, I really grieved for a year, and I started playing tennis. And when I played tennis, that was the only moment that I wasn't thinking about my mother, because I had just started and had to pay attention. And so on one hand, it can be a distraction for you and a break from your grief. On the other hand, it can become a huge burden, because you're like, oh my gosh, especially if it's when someone's died and you're having to deal with that. I think that it can also help for like, okay, these, I don't want to die, I don't want to go, but I have taken care of this. It's one less thing for me to worry about, and it's one less thing for the people I love to worry about. So I think that would be very individual.
Yes, and I know you can be overwhelmed with emotion, but if you have a lot of this other excess clutter, that's going to compound the problem, right?
Yeah, and I mean, someone has to deal with that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so who's going to take it out? That costs money. I had a neighbor that her father was a hoarder. It took 18 months for her to clean that out. She had help with someone, but I mean, that's 18 months of her life and dealing with all of that stuff. I mean, so that's taking away from your social activities. Maybe you can't exercise that day, but it's also a burden mentally, right? Because it's not done. And during that time, you're paying taxes on the house, you're paying heat, you're paying water. That's also a financial burden.
So many things to consider. And I think we're going to be up for a break, and we really want to hear some of those prompts. So maybe when we come back from our break, we can you can take us through some prompts. And can you, before we go on break, tell us why you use these prompts? What's the benefit?
Because it gets you to think. It gets you to take pen to paper, right?
Yes.
And really think through things. And then what I like to do with the prompt is I say, write it. And then when you have a moment, go back and pull out what's more important. I'm really a believer of kind of free-flowing, just whatever comes in, just write it down, and then go back and say, out of everything that I wrote, this is what's most significant. And when you pick that out, then okay, this is what's most important, and that's what I can focus on and move forward.
Perfect. So we'll hear some of those prompts after. We'll let you take us through some of those prompts after our break. So for our listeners, don't go away. Stay tuned for more on this wonderful topic with Julie Coraccio, founder of Reawakening Your Brilliance, award-winning professional life and end-of-life organizer and certified life coach, author of many books, including Declutter, 365 journal prompts, Reclaim Time, Money, Sanity, and Resources. On our show today, End of Life, Decluttering and Organizing, the ultimate spring cleaning. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Vicki Winterton and Dr. Jean Marie Farish have compiled a dynamic book. We're all in this together. Embrace one another. An anthology with 24 highly diverse co-authors who share how to spread the message of love, resilience, inclusivity, and compassion. This book is an invaluable source of uplifting, inspiring, and positive insights for spreading positivity in the world. We're all in this together. Embrace one another is available on Amazon.com. Be sure to get your copy today.
I'm Judy Satori. I'm a spiritual channel and activator of human potential. You might have heard me speaking on Voice of America on Dr. Jean Farish's show, Love Light, because I've been speaking about the challenges that are besetting all of us right now and how we can surrender but also keep on going. I want to invite you to join my new Facebook group that is devoted to heart-centered connection and unity. Through this Facebook group, you can also join my free access question and answer session with Spirit on the first Wednesday to Thursday of every month. Just search Ascension Community on Facebook to join the group. In this session, I answer questions and transmit energy from Spirit to give you guidance and support. Because life on planet Earth ain't easy right now. And there is so much help from above, from beings of love and light, from multidimensional realities who are actually here with us, wanting to step up and support us. I welcome you to become part of our ongoing group conversation about evolutionary change and how it's affecting us as human beings and affecting our life today. Many blessings to you. You can find out more about me and my work at www.ascensionlibrary.org. Have a wonderful day.
Dr. Jean Marie Farish is proud to announce the release of her new book, Living in the Spirit of Love, Our Natural State of Being, available now at Balboa Press. This book will help you master your life and flourish in love. You'll learn how to become a better and more evolved you. Feel good by making life-affirming choices. Deepen your feelings and expressions of love. Tune in love and sustain the change. And flourish in love and find your joy. Visit BalboaPress.com and search for Living in the Spirit of Love and enjoy Dr. Farish's new book today. Announcing Dr. Jean Marie Farish's new book, Love Mastery Devotion Journal, 21-day weekly prompts and affirmations. This is the companion piece to Dr. Farish's best-selling book, Living in the Spirit of Love, Our Natural State of Being. Through the new book, we invite you to cultivate a lifestyle of love through daily devotional practices over a 21-day period, following 9 ingredients in the recipe of love. Love Mastery Devotion Journal, 21-day weekly prompts and affirmations is available on Amazon.com and Balboa Press. Best-selling Authors International news honors best-selling authors around the globe. Dr. Jean Marie Farish is featured in the newly released issue of Published Magazine. To have first access to this treasured resource, go to publishedmagazine.com.
Jean Marie Farish's Center for Conscious Loving, LLC, cultivates a lifestyle of love and wholehearted connections through personal growth, altruistic services, and speaking engagements. Resources include classes, workshops, life care coaching, and creative service projects with an emphasis on cultural arts. Visit the website at drjeanmariefarish-consciousloving.com. That's drjeanmariefarish-consciousloving.com. Or click the link on the Love Light show page.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
You are tuned in to Love Light with Dr. Jean Marie Farish. Feel free to connect with our program through email or check out our links on Facebook. Reach Jean at Jean72Farish@yahoo.com. That's Jean72Farish@yahoo.com. And now, back to Love Light.
Well, welcome back to Love Light, living in the spirit of love. And if you're just joining us, we are with Julie Coraccio, founder of Reawakening Your Brilliance. She's an award-winning professional life and end-of-life organizer and certified life coach, author of Got Clutter, 365 Journal Prompts, Reclaim Time, Money, Sanity, and Resources. And Julie, we're going to jump right in with your prompts.
Excellent. Outstanding. So as I mentioned before break, what I encourage you to do, and I'm going to talk about the prompt and maybe give you some things to think about, but do this when you're uninterrupted, can sit and think quietly, and then, as I mentioned, write out your answers, and then at a later time, go back and highlight what's important. So the first prompt is, what do I want my legacy to be? And it's not just, it can be legacy to your family, it can be legacy to community, your neighbors, whatever it is for you. And remember, there aren't any right or wrong answers to this. The goal of this is to start you thinking about end-of-life planning and organizing and how you want to leave the world a better place. And so one thing I discovered when doing this is I want to create a cat sanctuary. And that is my big goal. I think it's going to take a decade, so I'm starting to investigate now. So I want you to ask yourself, what do I want my legacy to be? Another prompt, what do I want my family, and this again can be neighbors, community, the world, depending on who you are, to know or remember about me? And one of the things that I always like about these questions is it's interesting, and I kind of liken it to when working with kids because, parents will want to say I have all these memories, and I'm always like, get your kids involved because you might be surprised at what they want you to share in your holiday newsletter or what they want you to save. And so think about that. What is most important for your family, community, et cetera, to know and remember about you? Mm-hmm. And there's I want to just to give as a resource, Jean, if it's okay.
Sure.
There's something called StoryCorps, which is StoryCorps, but they do things where you can record stories. And so if you Google that, you'll be able to find out more information. But that might be something as a resource that people would enjoy. The third prompt I'd like to share is what family history is important to share? Like one of my family history that's gotten passed down was there was a fire and everything burned to the ground except the great-great-grandparent saved a clock, a little mantle clock. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. It wouldn't have been my choice, but the story behind that, why did they want to save that clock? Or, they're different interesting things. And, it goes back to StoryCorps for a little bit. Write all that stuff down. Write all those stories. Like I have an email file, like my aunts or dad will share a story. And I'm like, oh, and it's so disorganized. I'm like, bam, I've created a folder so I can remember all these great stories. Okay. Number 4, what unfinished business do I have? If you were to die tomorrow, what would you want tidied up? What would be important for you to be, like I mentioned earlier, I want a clean slate. I want to go out with as much as that is humanly possible. So what unfinished business do I have? And it might be personal, it might be in your career. But what's your unfinished business? And then finally, the 5th prompt, and we can talk about these more if you want, is who do I need to forgive? Now, again, forgiveness is a process. If you write this down today, then maybe in a year you can forgive someone. And, things can be really intense and you just can't expect to wake up 24 hours later and forgive. So don't beat yourself up if that is a situation, but just become really aware of that. And you know what? I don't believe that it's a requirement to have a clean slate to forgive. It's always something that I like to share. I'll be honest, I'll share when my mother was dying, she was estranged from her sister. And I said, do you want me to try to find Edie and have a conversation? She was like, no. And I don't think my mom was wrong for that. She had to do what was best for her. And, even if we forgive, as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't mean that we condone behavior or that being in touch with them again. But if you can, as you mentioned, Jean, have your heart open and your heart light, that supports you most importantly.
Julie, those are excellent prompts, and we do invite our listeners to tune back in and hear these prompts and share this show with others. Take inventory of your life. What is it that you need to hold on, what you need to let go of? And I love what you said, Julie, about leaving your legacy, right? That's so important. How do you want to be remembered?
And you gave that great quote at the beginning, and I don't know if I'd ever heard about the Buddha. Leave as much love and live simply, and one other thing. And so that's, to me, ties into that. Like, what's my legacy? And I would even reframe it a little bit and say, how do I want to leave the world in a better place? Because to me, that's motivating. And again, I want people to understand it's not all about money. I think, and sadly in American culture, we put way too much emphasis on that. Did you create a butterfly garden and help save the monarchs? That to me is worth more than $100,000. And so what are those things that you're doing? And I want people to recognize the way they're making a difference now.
Yes. And each day you create your legacy.
You really
and then
do.
I think, even thinking about it, you look at, well, what's important, really? And I want to share that it's never too late to begin again.
Yes.
Because some people think, gosh, I'm at the end of my life, or years have passed. It's just not worth it now. I don't have the time. But each day is an opportunity to begin again.
It really is. I started my business at 40. I wrote my first book at 50. It is never, ever too late for anything.
Right. Julie, how do you work with others? How can people connect with you and work with you?
Sure. So Reawaken Your Brilliance is my website, and it's got all my good information there. And I just want to share, if you're starting your decluttering journey, you can sign up for my free newsletter. And I've got 10 steps for you to declutter your life right now, 10 different areas: finance, holiday, relationships, all that good stuff. And bam, take action that you can do. I work with people virtually. One of the great things about COVID and technology. So I'm able to do that. So it's about ending, end of life organizing or decluttering. And then obviously life coaching. And my other passion is working with solopreneurs and doing some coaching there to support people in clearing their clutter so they can be happy and create the life that they desire.
Yes. What has been your attitude working with people? And I know that's kind of a general question, but I can imagine that after people spend time with you, they don't look at life the same way. They don't view death the same way, perhaps. What's your thoughts?
I think one of the greatest gifts that I get are seeing when people have peace of mind, they reduce their stress, they see their light, they see their brilliance. Before, especially people in society can really put us down or cloud that vision, and they reawaken that and they see that and they know, what? I am worthy. It doesn't matter if I was told all my life that I wasn't, I am. And that's the truth. It's not someone else's truth that I've unfortunately absorbed. And so I think for me, those are what really excite me. And I think that it's important for people to understand that they are really stronger, most of us, than we give ourselves credit for, and realize and understand that. And, Jean, when people do that, when they heal, they show people that it's possible. They are giving people permission to heal and move forward as well. They say, you know what, I did it and you can too. And then that sets off a chain. You see someone did that, then so on and so on, kind of like the Breck hair commercial, right? And then that's how we create change and create a revolution.
Yes, that's so powerful. And, even the issue of unworthiness, people spend their lives feeling that they're unworthy and believing it and living it out. And any thoughts about that as we move toward our closing, feeling like you're not worthy or your life has no meaning? Anything people can do today to start making a difference?
Well, first of all, I say this a lot, and I truly believe it. I feel like we're either coming from love or hate, and I kind of define love or the hate part more as feeling not good enough, feeling not worthy, feeling not loved, because, jealousy, for example, comes from one of those. So you need to understand that no matter what, and I don't like to use the word mistake unless you do something again and again and again, but that it's not a mistake, it's a lesson learned. And so, release all those messages that other people told you that you weren't worthy or whatever. And that's where you got to dig deep and do the work and release all of that and know, you know what, I deserve to be happy. And so one step that you can take is, okay, what can I do? How can I clear clutter in my life today in any area? And that builds and that allows you to move forward.
Okay. And how can listeners connect with you and get your free giveaway?
They can go to reawakenyourbrilliance.com. I've got my social handles, how you can work with me. I've got a free blog. And if you sign up for the newsletter, I'll pick someone. You put love and light. So I know you listen to Jean's show, and I'll do a book giveaway. I'll send you pick what book you want.
Oh, excellent. Very nicely done. And thank you, Julie, for being here today on this empowering topic, making it a little bit lighter, more appealing. So we invite listeners to connect with Julie, to go deeper and listen on demand and share our show with others. You really want to hear those journal prompts. Thank you so much, Julie.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Well, strengthen and embody the practice of love in your daily life by accessing your weekly love practice posted on the blog pages of my website, JeanFerrisJourney.com or Dr. Jean Marie Ferris, ConsciousLoving.com. Tune in next week for our show, How Leaders Can Build Confidence and Become Empowered, with Monique Deneau. Much gratitude to the Voice America team for making this show a reality and for shining their light around the world. So much time is spent hoping and waiting for a better day. Take time now. Bronnie Ware spent many years helping those who were dying and compiled a list of 5 most common regrets expressed by the people she cared for. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And I wish that I had let myself be happier. How many dreams are unfulfilled? Let's not look back upon our lives with regrets. Happiness is a choice. Let it be so. I'm Dr. Jean Marie, your Love Light host, coming to you from Voice America. And until we meet again, remember, an empowered self is a loving self. And keep your love light shining. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to Love Light this week. Be sure to join Dr. Jean Marie Ferris again for another program next Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and noon Eastern Time on the Voice America Empowerment Channel. Have a wonderful week filled with love, self-worth, and better connections.